It's just a coffin.
Yeah, right. And the Earth is flat.
In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It can be extremely harmful and result in severe trauma. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Flat Earth expert Mark Sargent thinks the moon landing was a hoax.
Technically, the moon itself is a hoax.
Right, but betting with Sportsbet's new iPhone app?
I could do this standing on my head.
Thanks, Gravity. Sportsbet's new iPhone app. It's
Hold on.
foolproof.
I know how we're different. Do you believe the Earth is flat?
I know it's flat. I walk on it.
Holy
Do you think the Earth is flat, Snoop? What do you think?
It's a flat world after all.
Smoke weed every day.
Broadcasting straight to you from a large spaceship currently at war with mainstream science. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery is doing two things at once, so he doesn't have a quote for you tonight. And he's a bad person. Welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which propose that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure thousands of miles wide. Just Google Flat Earth Mark. If you can't find it, well, you're just not very good at the internet. Currently, the show is on Tuesday nights at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. And yes, Carolina, if it is not December 17th, 2024, then you are listening to a rerun. Don't forget, this show can be found on BitChute and Brighteon, Rockfin, Rumble, and Spotify. YouTube is not the end of Flat Earth. It is only the beginning. Quote of day goes exactly like this. Never forget that a hero's journey is not only defined by its peaks, but also its valleys. Who said that? Me. Although I'm sure people have said versions of that over the years, but I came up with that one. My co-hosts, in the upper left, the perfect Patricia Steere. In the upper right, the slightly frozen but still delightful DJ Curious. And in the lower right, we have special guest Joseph Hanvey. Did I pronounce that right? Hanvey?
Yep,
perfect.
that's correct.
Who we'll get to later, so shut up. Don't say anything. Yeah. How are you guys, by the way? How's everybody?
Wonderful.
Great.
Great.
DJ, where are you, DJ?
Mr. Bigglesworth.
DJ, you look cold, and I know you're not really cold because I know where you are.
Reporting live from Antarctica, everybody.
Nice. It's sometimes hard to find Flat Earth friends, and there is an easy way to find cool people like yourself and solid info about our stationary horizontal level plane. The solution is simple. It's the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Watch the featured video every day for 2 weeks and see what happens. It will be the best $2.99 you've ever spent. Oh, so sleepy. And because It's 10 p.m. on the East Coast. It's time to say goodnight to one of our listeners, Paige. She's just put on her fantastic voyage pajamas, got a cup of cocoa with exactly 6 tiny marshmallows, and will probably listen to the playback in the morning. Good night, Paige. By the way, we're up to 1968 in terms of animated shows. I've been working my way down the Wikipedia list. America, people have no idea. America have made a lot of cartoons over the years. Are you drinking a warm beverage? Really?
Oh. It's the only thing keeping me alive at the moment.
Shoutouts to Flat Earther Stephen Carpenter, the Deftones. Support the Flat Earth cause and get the coolest hoodies ever. Go to the strong.family, won't you, and pick up some merch. Deftones, of course, are touring in 2025. I'm crossing my fingers I'll actually get to see them play this year when they're up in Seattle at the end of February. Mailbag. Oh, don't let me forget. There's a meetup that they emailed me. It was one of Jesse's meetups. I got shirts, Flat Earth shirts. Remember, if you mail something to me directly at 2125 Myres Lane, Langley, Washington, not Langley, Virginia. That's where CIA is. My bosses. You can. I'll show it to you on the air. And so he sent me Flat Earth shirts. Look at this. So here's one, and I don't know if he thought of you when he did it, Joseph, but there's one I thought that was kind of fun. Guys, see that?
Nice.
That's cool.
And the other one, which is it was kind of a running joke by Neil deGrasse Tyson, which was we're the only ones that sphere, flat, sphere. Which I actually enjoy because it's a funny little joke. Which is like, oh yeah, because they can't get away from space. They cannot do it. So it's like, well, how does a flat Earth thing work in space? It's like, what space? Why do you keep mentioning space? Ball, pancake, ball. Yeah, that's what Peanut Gallery said. And by the way, Peanut, everybody in chat room, I know you guys are watching. There's a whole bunch of extra moderators. Is the audio channels, are they working great? Because if they are, I am going to make sure we keep these settings for next week. Everybody look good? Everybody sound good? I'm not too loud, not too soft? DJ Patricia hasn't.
I feel very upside down.
Anybody in the chat have an issue with anyone's sound?
So far, so good. I think we're good. DJ is not upside down. That's funny. Oh, I see. I get it because he's in Antarctica. That's funny. Peanut says we seem good. All right. Perfect. Let's see. We'll do meetups real fast, which is... One second. Let's see here. Next meetup for Jesse is going to be Saturday, January 4th from 12 to 3 at Big Whiskey's American Restaurant and Bar. That's 4532 East 51st Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Please RSVP by calling Jesse at 781-857-9175 or email him at 300kmileprius@gmail.com, and he will have a Nikon P1000 who you guys will be green with envy over. So anyway, let's see. The other meetups. There are 3 others besides that one. Again, you can't stop Flat Earth from meeting up. It's like, wow, I thought Flat Earth was dead as of a few days ago. Apparently not. There's going to be one in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. That is December 21st. That is for the Southern New York people. They're going to be right across the border in Pennsylvania. There is a meetup in Minnesota. I just put that one up. That is going to be December 28th. That promo is on my channel as well. And, of course, the Flat Earth social expansion, which has now gone from southern UK to Wales. And you're saying, hey, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, isn't all the same thing? Well, it is, but for over there, they get kind of touchy if you bring that up. So, January 7th is going to be in Wales, and that promo is on my channel. Is there anything else that I missed? You guys, anything else you can think of that I missed? We got the meetups. We got the shout-outs. We've got everything seems to be lining up. Our audio is good. Our video is good. So,
Right.
let's get to it, shall we?
I want those shirts. Those were cool.
I know. Christian hadn't sent me anything in a while, and I feel bad, because Christian sent me, anyone that watches this show, he sent me a lot of stuff, and you're going, wow, where did he get all this stuff? He was one of those guys, and I don't know if they have it in your city, but he bought those Amazon pallets, the mystery Amazon pallets. They do it with Target and other things, which is, Amazon gets returns, and they're like, you know what? let's just kind of bundle stuff up. We'll check it out, make sure it's at least somewhat operational. And you can bid on an entire pallet of stuff against other people. Again, the gambling addiction. I love it. And so he would buy stuff and then send me things. I also, by the way, I'm going to call out Rick Hummer, who's calling me right now. There's Rick Hummer. Rick Hummer invariably will call me forgetting that the show is Tuesday nights, right? Just started and I can't answer the call. You know what?
Well, maybe he has something to say
hang on.
for the show.
Hey, Rick.
Hi, is this Captain Flat?
Yeah. Hey, Rick. Do you know what I do Tuesday nights?
Is it Tuesday?
Yeah, it's Tuesday. I'm in the middle of I'm in a live stream right now, and I wasn't even going to pick you up, but I figured, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to tell you Tuesday nights. This is not the first time you've done this. Why are you calling me? It's Strange World night.
I forgot it was Tuesday.
Tell him he's live on air.
I'm sorry.
Well,
There's so much going on. I think the drones got to me.
Thank you. Well, you're admitting this too. And David Weiss. Oh, hang on. David Weiss is also calling me. Hang on. Is this David?
Mark. What's going on? You're taking calls.
You suck. You absolutely suck.
What's up, Joe? Shout out to Joe.
Oh, hey, and no, okay, I'm not going to pick up everybody else. Yeah, there's Brian Burton. Nope, we're not doing this. All right, guys, I'm hanging up on all of you. No, I'm not picking. No, I'm hanging up on all you guys. Screw you. Okay, that's the power of social media right there.
Wow, that's hilarious.
No, oh, come on, Rick, you're killing me. Rick, come on, seriously, I'm on air. I got a show to do.
Okay, sorry, I thought you wanted me to hang on the line.
Well, I did until David Weiss called.
Oh, that's right. He's Lieutenant Flat.
Yeah, he's Lieutenant Flat. Okay. Anyway, we'll talk soon. Okay.
Hey, I love you, man.
Kisses. All right.
Kisses, hugs, and all the good stuff that goes with it.
Okay. Bye. I learned that from DJ. Okay. How's that for an awkward segue into Joseph?
Joseph's like, do I have to be on the show? I know I said yes, but I didn't really know what I was getting into. Joseph Hanvey, 9 months ago, decided to go on a geocentric journey. And if you go to his channel, and mods, if you could, please put his channel off and on throughout the show as long as Joseph is here, linked in the chat so that people can subscribe to it. He went on this geocentric journey, and it led to the models that he's been coming out with. But the journey was more than just coming up with a model. It was everything. He looked at all aspects of the world, pretty much after work, came home and shut himself away and began doing deep studying. And he was questioning everything, including his faith. This was 2004, 2005, and his research has led him to many different changes in his life, although he's kept the same job. But now he's here with us, and his channel is definitely on the verge of blowing up. He's the right man at the right time for the Flat Earth Awakening. And we want to welcome you here, Joe. Thanks for being on, and thanks for the capabilities that you possess to bring us what looks like a working model of the Flat Earth.
Thank you for having me. I'm just kind of humbled to even be in this situation, to be honest. I never really was doing that. My main reason was just to figure it out for myself after I figured out that the Earth is definitely not what they told us it was. So I like to figure things out, and that's what I decided to try to do. I know it's got to be something different than what they've told us. So what is it?
Right on. Hey, can I interrupt for 1 second? Because I'm sure people are interested in the chat room. Because I don't know. Because up until recently, I hadn't really watched your stuff. But I have caught up as fast as I could. How did you get into this? What is your journey like, as far as how getting this far? Before we get to your model, how many years are you in? We treat this kind of like a sad AA meeting, which is good.
I don't remember the exact year that it kind of clicked, but it was sometime around 2009, 2010, or 2011, and I discovered that there was just a lot of things not lining up with what we had been taught in school and about history and just the stuff in the media. So, and at the time I was teaching I was helping teach a course at a church that I was attending on apologetics for college and career age. And I got into teachings on cosmology and prophecy and just started finding things that didn't add up, that I hadn't looked at in a certain light before. And that kind of started really leading me down that path. And I think probably until 5 years ago, I was just kind of in the closet studying it, researching it constantly. And then about 5 years ago, I was just like, I can't be apathetic about this anymore. I've got to say something. I've got to let people know. Just because if I had been lied to my whole life, I would and other people knew it and I didn't, I would want them to tell me. So, and I was like, if I'm going to do that, then I need to figure out how it works so that I can explain it intelligently to people and at least give them the option to say, okay, this is something that actually holds weight scientifically, intelligently, and just every aspect about it is far better and far more advanced than the model we've been told our whole life. So that's a kind of a quick, short synopsis.
No, that's fine. That's perfect.
Yeah, I love that. I just want to chime in really quick and just also say thank you, Joe, for being here, and thank you to Run Boston Bear for helping to make the connection, because we were seeking you out. Patricia was very intrigued by all the videos, and it was nice, Joe, that I got to talk to you on that live stream last week and just kind of point out the fact that you took this challenge on, kind of going back and forth with the final experiment. And so I'm just so happy you're here, and thank you again, and can't wait to hear more of your journey.
Thank you. Yeah, man, it's been great to connect with people. I mean, even kind of before this whole thing blew up, just the work that I've done has connected me with people all over the plains. So it's been awesome. I get to talk to people in New Zealand and Australia and South America and Africa and the UK and Canada, all over the world about what's going on in the sky above us, to try to really get an idea. Because one thing I know is in the 13 years that I've kind of been in this, I've always heard, where's your model? And I've always known that a cartoon isn't a model. So if we were ever going to model it, we had to do it physically. And their main push points were always, what about the lights in the ceiling? Why does the sun do this? Why does the moon do this? What causes moon phases? What causes lunar eclipses? Why do star trails rotate arc and anti-arc in different zones? You know, it was always about the ceiling. Why is the ceiling like this if the floor is flat? So I was like, any model really needs to be able to account for the luminaries. And that's what I set out to do, was to answer all the hard questions. Now I do have a viable lunar eclipse theory. I have a viable theory for star trails, a viable theory for the Antarctic 24-hour sun, and many, many other things, red shift and blue shift. And you know, the trolls are going to do their thing, but, you know, trolls are doing it from behind a keypad instead of actually doing the work themselves. So I don't even listen to that. I just do my thing, put it out there. It's all about truth for me. And if it helps other people, or if it gains ground and actually has scientific merit, then the truth will do what it does.
Joseph, on your first video that you came out with that's on your channel, and I suggest people go from the beginning. I know everyone's watched the newer videos when you're coming up with this model because of the TFE thing that's happened. But go back to the beginning and you'll be able to travel in time with Joseph and see how the awakening for him began. You mentioned a couple of proverbs, and one of them was Proverbs 4:7, which says, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding." And that seemed to be, from what you said in your video, a guiding force in what you've done. And there was another one that you said pertaining to a king.
Proverbs 25 too.
Exactly. It's the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. And really, that's what you're doing, but really, isn't that what we're all doing? Even our guys who were, and girl, Lisbeth, in Antarctica, were doing this exact same thing. And I hope when those three get back here to the United States, they are greeted with a hero's welcome, not with people calling them shills, not with people saying that they faked the whole thing, it was in a sound stage, or they were flown to another location, not where they said they were at that base camp. That's ridiculous. And that's not because I'm dumb. I'm not. I do know liars. But generally speaking, we in Flat Earth are often wrong about things. But there's a difference between being wrong about things as we continue trying to learn and being a liar. The liars are on the other side. And I'm not just talking about the adamant globe people who are on YouTube who are fighting against the flat earth. I'm just talking about the people that put this whole system in place. A system that is here to hide God. If you don't like the word God, then use the word the creator, or just say whatever created this place. Those are the liars. They have their reasons, and our reasons are so much more beautiful. So let's welcome them back with the hero's welcome that they deserve.
Absolutely.
Had to say that.
No, that's
yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, these guys, even not watching TV in 5 years or media in 5 years, you can't help but know who Jaron and Austin are in the truth movement. And the things they've done for truth, it's ridiculous to treat people like that, period. I don't care if you don't agree with somebody. Treating somebody as though they're dung on the ground beneath you is just a terrible way to live life. And it's generally a sign that there's something wrong inside of the person treating other people like that. So I think, yeah, we should be glad that Jaron and Austin sacrificed. I mean, can you imagine spending a week with a couple of those guys in that kind of conditions? It's not.
Especially MC Toon, who there's video of him screaming on the phone at another flat earther who, as we all know, Nathan Oakley, does his own share of screaming, but it's on his own channel. He doesn't call people up on the phone to scream at them personally. People who get screamed at on his channel, well, they went there willingly to the channel. So anyway.
And I've sat down and had lunch and dinner with Austin at the Truth and Freedom Conference. He's a good guy. He's open to growth and learning. And, you know, I guess people see him, and because he's so polished, they think he's a know-it-all. And he's not. Like, he's just a humble guy who's willing to learn and grow. And, you know, Jaron, regardless of what he decides about the shape of the earth based on what he saw in the sky, he's still a good dude. And I mean, there's tons of things he can talk about outside of the earth. But if those two were to walk away from flat earth, I couldn't blame them. I mean, the way they've been treated, who could blame them?
Yeah, that's the hard part for me, just kind of being the new kid on the block, getting into this and seeing how much division there is even within the community. But that's also just coming with the territory because everyone's skeptical. So it's on the hyper skeptical side to be questioning the shape of the earth and just not buying into the heliocentric model. And so for the people that have spent the time and energy to really put their neck out, absolutely we need to welcome them. We need to give them the benefit of the doubt. We need to let them kind of share their information, because maybe they found another flat earth proof that could be a death blow to the heliocentric model. Because just as this goes without saying, just because there's a 24-hour circling sun, which obviously Mark had already talked about on the show, saying could be a possibility, he wasn't going to be surprised if we saw it. So it's not a total shock for the flat earth community. Sorry, globe side. We're still just trying to figure out how this beautiful place works. And it's really important everybody recognizes that we've only been able to try to put ourselves into this reality for the past 10 years of understanding how things could work. And that's why, Joe, your story is so cool and so fascinating, because you did say that you shut off outside sources, you stopped watching TV, and you were just allowing the creator. This is probably the most beautiful thing I've heard you say so far, is that you just wanted to have that connection to the creator, not learn from outside sources, not just take what man says, and really try to figure it out for yourself. And that's why we get to enjoy what you've accomplished so far. And please note, everyone, it's a work in progress. It's okay that we don't know how this place works. It's very intricate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the funny things that I kind of laugh at with all the troll comments is they'll come in with these just barrage of disingenuous questions where they're just operating in cognitive dissonance and trying to get a gotcha question. And most of the time, if they would just go watch my other videos, those questions have already been answered. But yeah, it's very sad to see that kind of attitude. You know, if somebody's asking genuine questions and they're just really looking for why flat Earth is even a possibility, and they're a globe proponent, I have no problem having a discussion with people. But the disingenuous troll comments, I'm not even going to engage with that anymore. I'm just going to keep doing this, and you know, whoever wants to take something from it, they can. If they don't, then that's fine too, because at the end of the day, like, I've done my part. I've done my best to figure out how it's working, and I feel like now we as a community can really delve into it and make it better and better.
Definitely. Now, building models is nothing that I could do. I mean, I don't have the talent. You have to actually fabricate things, and maybe you use a few things that you have around the house, and it looks like you've got a lot of cameras behind you and mounts, so you really know a lot about doing this. What is it about your background that lent you to have the ability to make models like you do?
I don't really know. I guess it's just I've always been a very curious-minded person. I mean, second grade, every month, instead of, you know, going out and playing on the playground and stuff, I'd go to the library and get a book on herpetology and read it. And I've always loved figuring things out, learning things, science, all sciences, from biology to horticulture to agronomics to anatomy, astronomy, astrology, everything you can think of as far as the scientific practices, optics. I love trying to figure things out, and I've never been one to like watching TV or anything like that. So, and once I really became what I would consider a true believer, somebody where the knowledge went from my head to my heart, and I realized that just the realness of the relationship with the Creator, I was just fascinated by his creation on a level that it was kind of like being a little kid again, where you just, everything is amazing and you're just kind of in awe of everything, and your mind is free to grow. You're kind of outside of that in the box thinking. You just kind of break free from that, and you're able to see things on a broader scale. And at the same time, I have to give him credit. There's a lot of it's just, I can only describe it kind of like Nikola Tesla talked about how he got downloads. And there's been many times I've just got like an instant download, and I had to write everything down and then go kind of fabricate the stuff. And sure enough, it would work, like for moon phases or lunar eclipses. And it just started clicking and making sense. So
I think that downloads are coming to you directly from God. And I actually think that all of us who got involved in flat Earth at one time or another weren't flat earthers, and we were just living our life in the quote-unquote matrix. And then one day we got a download too, and that's why we're here today. Some of us, like me, can't make models, so that's not the kind of download I got. I got a download to do something that I was naturally comfortable with. And Joseph, well, you got the download that is something that you naturally are comfortable with. DJ, you as well. And Mark, definitely you as well, with your ability as a speaker and your ability to do presentations and to write books. All of us got downloads to use the abilities that we personally have been given by God, to use them for good. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. We all operate in our individual gifts, that's for sure. And if we can learn how to do that better, and more of us unite instead of calling everybody shills and being angry about everything, I think we would do a lot better.
What a waste of time it is. What a waste of time.
Seriously. And just bad.
I had some weird hope call me a Pollyanna, but that when the guys were on the ice, the Globers and our Flat Earth crew, guys and girl, that maybe they might, now they would never agree on the same stuff, but maybe they might, shake hands in some sort of like, hey, I don't agree, you don't agree, but but it turned out not to really work out that way. Even there, in those conditions that were so deadly or could be deadly if you went in the wrong area, those life-threatening conditions, that visual beauty, the stunning handiwork of God, that something might change. But then I thought, wait a minute, all those Globers are atheists. They're not afraid of death. They don't fear the creator, so they're fine with being at the edge of death, freezing to death, and they'll just continue fighting till their last breath. Because they're angry people, I think. Angry people.
And it's important to we're learning and practicing patience, obviously being on the side of things that look just so down upon. It's a humbling experience getting to this point and going, look, I don't have all the answers. We are still learning. We're curious. We're putting ourselves out there. All of us kind of have a part in it. It also resonates with me that I was in my own living room seeking truth and trying to understand what was going on. I just knew that they were hiding God. I didn't really understand how, but I just felt it. And that has led me here, and I've shared that on the show. But Mark, I haven't heard you talk about downloads really quick. When you made the clues, I'm just curious. And also, Joe, did you ever see the Flat Earth clues that Mark made a decade ago?
You see, you should have thought about that for a couple seconds before you said the answer, because now
Mark did
no. Now there is a rift between us, between me and Joseph right now. I'm going to say it officially.
Sorry to call you out.
Oh, Joseph, seriously. No, that's actually fine, because for a while there, the reason why people got into it was there was only so much stuff out there. Eric DeBay had some stuff, Matt Boylan had some drunken stuff, and I had the clues. And but I'm sorry, to your question, DJ, as far as downloads goes, my download came in a narrative. I didn't call it a download at the time, which was, I wasn't kidding. I mean, I woke up, at 3 a.m. with the clues as a narrative in my own voice. It didn't come out, people say, Mark, do you hear voices? Like, what kind of voices? Like, no, it was my own voice reading the narrative. And to where I'm in the shower, it's like, yeah, this will work out. This is first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph. And then I sat down and I was completely serious when I said it was some of the clearest writing I've ever done. I've never written anything to where I was going paragraph by paragraph, even when I do those 60-second shorts and crap that I do every week. Now I have to go back and change things. And I changed almost nothing in the clues when I wrote it. And then when I narrated it, it just seemed, even though I knew nothing about video and audio work at all, it's like, all right, how can I do this? And then I just did it. So if you want to call it a download, yes. Although back then I didn't know what to call it.
Well, it's interesting because it did help a lot of people. And now that it's been 10 years, obviously we can get into Flat Earth through other means. And in fact, I would love to hear, Joe, how you got into Flat Earth originally. I don't know if you can expand upon that, but you're in for a treat when you see the clues, because they really do resonate with so many people and they went completely viral. And it set Mark up for this journey to help wake up a lot of people, and myself included. Plus, just the journey that Mark and Patricia have been on, it kind of ties into what Jaron and Austin and Elizabeth are going through, where they've put themselves out there, and whatever the heliocentric model tries to do, it's not going to destroy what the truth is. And just reminding everyone that's out there listening, if they're concerned, I just want to say that. But how did you, Joe, first hear about Flat Earth, and what was like the pull that got you into it?
In the social media sense, not before the social media stuff. Again, you can answer any way you want. I will not be upset or, tears or anything like that. But who was the first content creator that caught your eye? And if you say Eric DeBay, that's fine. We won't kick you off right this second.
It wasn't Eric DeBay. Honestly, I don't remember the guy's name, but he did a thing about sundials. And it just kind of intrigued me. And I was already questioning things just because of scripture and kind of how, you read about the firmament separating the waters from above and beneath. And what do you do with that? Like, it's like, that just hit me all of a sudden, because I had really gotten into studying scripture, Apologetics was a big thing for me. 1 Peter 3:15 is kind of another life verse of mine that says, be ready to give a defense to any man who asks a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. So that was it, really. Like, once that little sundial video, whoever it was, kind of clicked with me, I was like, let me look into this. And I just started looking into celestial movements and the business that I'm in. Like, I have to watch the sun and know the sun's position and things like that, because it has a huge effect on agronomics, which is the business that I'm in. So it was kind of natural for me to already be looking at the sun. And it's kind of funny that he brought me in, the creator brought me into this kind of with sundials, and now here we are talking about the sun again. So it's
wow,
it's interesting.
I mean, sorry, that is very fascinating to me, because so many of us get hooked on the content, and to hear that your journey was more of just intuitive and that the scriptures were speaking to you, to me, because of the parallels and that for myself and hearing other people share their flat earth journeys, it feels like there's some sort of awakening. And it's that kind of, I don't know how that makes people feel, but it's something that I think is really important why we share our journeys, because we're coming from all different walks of life to this realization that we've been lied to, and that the truth is being hidden, and that we're going to help uncover it.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. Is just, at the end of the day, it's about truth for me. And above all things, even if I'm wrong and I have to say, hey, if I have to tell the whole world, hey, I was wrong, it doesn't bother me anymore, because we're never going to grow if we don't step out. And so I don't really believe in failure anymore. I just believe in lessons learned. Kind of like when I first started trying to demonstrate the 24-hour sun, it was working the whole time. I was the one screwing everything up with my explanations, and that was causing confusion. So, it just took me a little bit of time to really wrap my head around it. And I have to admit, the 24-hour sun is probably the hardest form of perspective in our realm to wrap your head around. And it's taken me 3 years of shining lasers of all different kinds, and lights and diffused lights and projections and star fields and moons and wandering stars and everything else, and moving everything around and trying different maps and different scenarios to really start understanding how optics works in a system like this. So it's actually pretty wild that it matches things very, very accurately. Like, I can go out here with my telescopes or my P950 or even my iPhone or my Samsung and run star trails, and I can see northern star trails, equatorial star trails, and southern star trails from my driveway. And then I can come in here and do a long exposure in this with my stars and get the exact same thing. So, for years and years, we've always heard, well, explain how star trails work on a flat earth. Well, we can now. And just saying we can't because you can't wrap your mind around it, not y'all, just saying in general, for the globe side, just because the globe side can't wrap their mind around it because they've not put any effort or any time into trying to actually break down the model. Right. They've always just looked for problems so they can say it doesn't work. Well, if you were truly being intellectually honest as a glober, you would have all this stuff and you would be trying to falsify it this way. I have several little solar systems in the other room that I use to try to actually, and there are plenty of things that work as far as the heavenly bodies on the globe model, but the things that don't work. And those are big ones. Like, we have water that needs a container that seeks rest at a relatively level surface. It doesn't bend convexly to a sphere that's spinning 1,000 miles an hour, 1,038, whatever they say it is. While corkscrewing, tilted, wobbling at numerous different speeds through the vastness of a near perfect vacuum while having a pressurized atmosphere. It's just nonsense. And with ours, we start off way better than that. One, we have a container for gas. 2, we have a container for the water. 3, we're stationary, which we treat everything as though we're stationary. So like right off the bat, our model is leaps and bounds better than the so-called heliocentric model, which they don't have a model. They have animations and cartoons.
Right.
If you go set up a heliocentric model, I've set up like, I took my nephew's glow-in-the-dark basketball as the sun, and then I took like a softball and a baseball and a golf ball and a little bouncy ball, and just set them up as like the different planets and Earth and Mercury and Venus. I mean, we should never see Mercury or Venus, ever. It's just ridiculous to think that I've captured Venus at 11 o'clock at night, looking up into the night sky when it's inside of our orbit, and that's the day side of Earth. That's just, it's nonsense. And like Mark was talking about earlier, the outer space lies so deeply ingrained into the indoctrination that people can't break free, and they're conflating two models. So they get this disk floating in outer space idea, and that's not what flat earthers believe. So we believe we're on foundations, we're not moving, that we're enclosed, and that's why we have gas pressure, that's why the water is contained. And then beyond all that, we can get into more details, but that conflation is the biggest problem, and that is born of the brainwashing and programming. Am I calling everybody stupid? No. We were all brainwashed. We were all programmed. We all believed it. It doesn't mean we're stupid. It just means we fell for it.
Yeah, space is a wonderfully romantic notion that when I put it in my clues, I said, look, from a creative standpoint, it's brilliant. It's an open canvas that has no limits, which is where we came up with Star Wars and Star Trek and Stargate and Battlestar Galactica and so on and so on. You know, you can just keep going with the stories as far as your imagination will take you. But that also traps you, where what you said, where the space disc, the space disc, right? And our big, the big flat Earth asteroid thing, they can't use anything else because they can't conceive of anything else, even though what you have behind you is a perfect example of something else, but they're not willing to make that leap. I've said many times, like, why does there have to be space? It could just be a domed structure sitting anywhere. Sitting on God's...
It reminds me of a convid. People will say, okay, this is just my opinion, but everyone knows what I mean when I say convid. Why does there have to be a virus?
Right.
Why can't it just be completely made up by, quote, them, which is what I believe. But they had to have it be lab leak or a bat, That's the kind of thing that it's the same thing. They keep doing the same thing, but with like different... it's their plan. That's what they do.
Yeah, it had to be that because they couldn't tell us it was 5G.
or just completely made up. It couldn't. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and one thing I want to just kind of go back to just for a second is, when you and Dave Weiss were talking about this final experiment right before they kind of came forth and said, hey, we are seeing the 24-hour sun, you already knew that, look, this isn't a death blow for the flat Earth model, and that the globe side, they can't go back and rework what they've told everyone is true, but the flat side can. Like, we're allowed to keep reinventing and coming up with ways and trying to figure out, because it's literally like peeking into the mind of the creator. And let's just be real, it's going to be far more complex than we can maybe grasp at first go around, right? So, but the amount of information and death blows to the heliocentric model is what helped get me to the flat side. Knowing that if we're allegedly caught in the sun's gravitational pull, and that we're tilted perfectly, and we go around the sun at this breakneck speed of 66,000 miles, as we all have heard, and yet if there was any deviation of that, let alone the spin and rotation, which apparently is helping with the gravitation and helping everything stay to the globe, the point of what I'm saying is that if there was any kind of blip with how fine-tuned that heliocentric model would have to be, we would either all go flying off into space or we'd all be stuck to the Earth and instantly killed, right? But the fact that it's so stable begs the question that this place is completely fine-tuned, and even science doesn't like to go there because it pushes too much evidence towards a creator. And maybe, just maybe, the flat model, which, guys, if the final experiment, if they are watching this and they want to make fun of us, you know, try to prove rotation, try to prove curvature, go into Joe Hanvey's stuff and really give his model a shot and at least talk about how the flat side is the rebuttal to this heliocentric, you know, what we think is the deception. We're still figuring out, we're questioning things, we have a lot more evidence on our side. So that, to me, is so important to just hit home and make sure everyone knows that's listening, like, hey, this is not the end of the flat earth model. It's just literally the beginning. It's more data.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really don't have room to rework certain things. Like, you know, we falsified the radius, so they can't go and rework a radius because everything is based on that radius value. So they have no room to rework there. But they do rework stuff like dark matter, dark energy, all these made up things to try to hold the lie together. It's like, you know, Band-Aids they're putting on the lie to try to keep it going. But eventually you're going to run out of Band-Aids and the ones you've used are going to fall off. So yeah. It's just a matter of time. The globe is dead. A lot of people just don't realize it yet, but they're going to.
Yeah, the body's stinking. I can smell it here in Houston.
I want to mention one more thing, which was, you know, what you said earlier, which is it is the especially with the sun and the optics in the sky, it is the toughest thing for anyone to get their head around. And yet and you guys can go back and check my track record, trolls, any day you want. For 10 years, people have asked me invariably, at least one in every 4 interviews, so a lot, where they said, oh, hey, what's the weakest point of flat Earth? What's the weakest point? I've never hesitated. It's like, oh, yeah, 24-hour sun. It's got to be. Well, they say, why is that? Well, because if it's one light source, or if the light source, it can't be a standard light source, because if it's a standard, you know, regular light source, it will, and we'll explain, you know, with Joseph's help a little bit later how that works. But, you know, in the Arctic, 24-hour sun, piece of cake. The Antarctic, not so much, because it's such a big surface level. Basically, it's not what it appears to be. And yet, when I brought this up to people, I can't even remember. There was never a host that a light bulb came on. It's like, oh, I completely understand what you're talking about. They were lost. Absolutely freaking lost, which is why I warned people over the last weeks and months. I go, unfortunately, the Antarctic experiment is not going to hinder what's going to help us more. It's going to hinder us, because when you come back, whoever comes back and claims victory, you can go to any producer you want, and the producer is going to stare at you or whatever show or whatever host. They're going to be like, so dumb it down for me, because I don't get it, because it's the hardest thing to understand, the sky system. They just don't get it. Come on, we can barely get them to understand water and ships going over the horizon. 24-hour sun, you might as well be talking Latin to a lot of them. So anyway.
And those who are listening and watching, we are going to be showing a few clips of Joe's most recent model, probably at the break, I would imagine. So we'll be able to talk about that when we come back. And also just kind of dive into more of the trial and error process. Once we can kind of visualize, it's going to help, I think, people watching. So we will get to that in a moment.
Yeah. Let's back up a little bit. So when this is for Joseph, when you first heard about the Antarctic experiment, what was your frame of mind? What was happening?
All right, so I'll have to give a little bit of background, because most people don't know this story. I'm kind of responsible in a way, or at least intimately involved with the connection of Will Duffy to Dave Weiss for the first debate, which ended up being with Jim.
Oh my God! Here we go. Now we know what's going on. Go ahead.
So Will Duffy and I were debating on. He always brings up Wendy on Facebook, and we were debating the shape of the Earth in there, and he basically kept demanding to speak with a high-level flat earther, whatever that means. So I reached out to Dave. I was like, Dave, will you debate this pastor? He says he has irrefutable evidence, and his irrefutable evidence was the Himawari 9 satellite pictures. So Dave agreed. He reached out to Will, and for whatever reason, I think Dave was on a flight or something and couldn't make it. So Jaron and Austin took over for that first discussion with Will Duffy. And then it just kind of progressed from there. When he first came out with the final experiment, I had already been modeling for a couple of years and already had a lot of data, and I thought to myself, you know, why not try to do it in the model? And then I had a conversation with my friend in New Zealand, and because I've never been that far south and watched the sun for any period of time, I assumed, like every other flat earth, that it just is just going around, you know. And he told me, he's like, no, it rises in my southeast and sets in my southwest. And he's in New Zealand, and I'm like, show me. So we got on a call and he showed me, and I was like, well, darn, I was like, that's already a problem for the flat earth if the sun only goes east to west around Capricorn. But knowing at that point what I'd already seen with the dome, I was like, you know, if you go far enough south, if that's how he's seeing his sun, if you go far enough south, more than likely you're gonna see a 24-hour sun. And I already knew we had an apparent sun. This is the way I like to describe our sun. We have an apparent view of its physical source. So it looks like it's a physical source to us with sunspots and filaments and prominences and textured surface and that kind of stuff. But it's in an apparent position. We're not seeing the physical source. We're seeing a physical representation in an apparent position. And I think that's the best way for me to be able to describe our sun in this system. And that's something that's hard to understand, but the more time you spend shining lights and lasers and stuff through domes and playing with that, the more you really start to realize how that is. And it's actually very cool, and that's what leads to the 24-hour sun. But anyway, so once Will announced that, I decided, okay, and I had that conversation with my friend Chris in New Zealand. I decided to try to model it. So I started modeling, and I noticed right away, like no matter where I looked when I was running the light source around Capricorn, and I didn't even have what I call my mimic superfluid ceiling. I didn't have that in there at the time. But no matter where I looked, it would follow you, kind of like when you're driving down the road, the sun follows you, or the moon follows you, or you walk across the street and the moon looks like it moved 300 feet in your line of sight. So it just followed everywhere. And but it was going, so I would be moving the light source west around Capricorn, and the apparent light source that far out on the dome was going anti to that. Now, because the superfluid ceiling wasn't in here, it looked like it was going the wrong way to everybody, and that was one of my problems. But if I take the superfluid ceiling out and I add this little dome in, which would represent kind of how our eyeballs see. Our eyes shrink our sky down to what we call a personal azimuthal grid view. And this represents, I can get it to do it with that as well. Or I can take this out, and I can take the superfluid out and the mimic superfluid and do it the way I did the first time and explain why it looks the way it looks now. So I understand the process and why it's happening. And it is happening simultaneously, completely all the way around, no matter where you look. I'm getting ready to set up several cameras. I had a guy reach out to me today, and he's going to make me a custom two-way mirror like this that's bigger, because I've had trouble finding a bigger one because this one's a little too high. I don't think it's quite that high. I think it's actually a little lower. I personally believe that our Atmos starts to transition really heavily at around 75 miles high. And then how far that transition zone is before it reaches the superfluid, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I can't go there. I don't have the funding or the resources to do that. I wish I did. I would darn sure try. But yeah, so once I get that new superfluid, I'm going to set up cameras all the way around and do it again and show how it's happening simultaneously around the whole perimeter. And even in the video I did already, you can see it's doing a loop, and people are like, well, you wouldn't see the whole thing. It would go behind your head. And we have to remember, we're looking with a God's eye view outside of this thing. So we would have to imagine being directly up under that and be like the size of a little grain of sand looking up, and you would see the sun. And the interesting thing is it does in this model what they saw in Antarctica, which Stephen Alonso, I don't know, I'm going to give him a shout out. Firmament Trackers app on Google Play. He has modeled an app where you can have multiple viewers with personal azimuthal grids on the flat Earth, and you can move them all around and see how the sun and the moon and the wandering stars are all moving above you and get your own personal perspective. It's very cool. He's done a great job. And it represents this very well. And it shows and predicts the 24-hour sun. He actually won all 3 of the TFE challenges based off of his math from his model. So shout out to Steve Alonso. Go check out the Firmament Trackers app on Google Play. It's a it's a animated digital model of this, basically.
So cool.
So hopefully that covers it a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, that helps a lot. I think what people have a hard time wrapping their head around is the sun and its apparent position to the observer. And so when we watch the stuff, it'll kind of help visualize it, and we'll probably be able to dive in the next hour, more questions. Mark, how are we doing on time?
Yeah, one quick thing with the apparent position. I try to simplify it for people. If we just think of it this way, when I'm seeing a sunrise, somebody else is seeing a sunset, and somebody else has the sun at midday above their head. We're all seeing what we believe to be the physical sun, but in very different locations based on our position on the realm. None of us are seeing the physical location. We're seeing an apparent location. And on top of that, if it's moving at Mach 1.2, then we're definitely only seeing an apparent representation of its physical source. So it's definitely the toughest form of perspective for sure.
And that, by the way, for those of you who've been listening to the show for several years, is something I have talked about multiple times in the way of software. Because when we have to create it, and I mean the software developers in the virtual worlds that we create, whether it be entertainment or military or educational, you can't put that, again, it's a cheat, which is the sun, like you said, can only really be in one place at one time to the observer. But when you have multiple observers, what do? Well, in software, it's called instancing, which is, it's literally what it sounds like. There is an instance of the sun. Your sun is where, like you said, it follows you. But since you can't be in the head of more than one person, the person down the road, he also sees the sun following him. And you both could take lie detector tests, and it's like, oh no, the sun's absolutely true. It's right there, and it's been following me for the last 2 hours. And like, no, it's not. But again, in the virtual world, that's what we say. It's a cheat. It's a trick. It's an illusion, for lack of a better term, and it works because you cannot be in multiple places at the same time. And it's not even just the sun. You can do the same thing with stars. Anything in the sky, really. We call it in the gaming world, it's called the skybox system. And the example I used years ago was, and you'll get this, Joseph, which is you could be in a completely different country, and we could both be looking at the belt of Orion, right? And you'll say, oh, the middle star in the belt of Orion is blue, and I'll say, no, it's red. So who's right? Technically, you could both be right, depending on how it's done for each of you. So, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if David's already gone to sleep. David Weiss did that. Remember the curtain with the flashlight, where he and Paige were standing next to each other, and she would point to where the light was, and he would point to where the light was, and they were fairly close to each other. But when they compared the dots, they were quite a ways away. And it's like, perspective is a funny thing, and I think it's part of how the creator built this place, which was a way to make everything seem unique to us, but at the same time make it different for everyone. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, there's a good test like anybody can do. So if everybody's got a smartphone now, on a really well moonlit full moon night, walk outside, mark a spot where you see the moon, take a picture. Walk 15 feet over another direction, take another picture, but mark that same spot on the tree line or whatever it is. Then walk, 30 feet the other direction and take another picture and mark that tree line. And just do that about 10, 15 different spots on your own property, and then look at all the pictures and see how differently the moon presents itself just on your own property. It's wild. I like what you said, Mark, because it's like he's given us our own personal show and it's following us around. Yet that show is different for everybody across the whole plane of creation.
A way of giving a unique experience to everybody, even though they're all together. I've always found that fascinating. Hey, we've got to go to our only break. And when we come back, we will talk more with Joseph Hanvey. And were you planning, by the way, I don't know if you had the ability to, I'm sure the microphone would pick it up. Do you have the ability to use some of your lights on that dome behind you to show us a few things or not?
Yeah, I can do it. I'm not sure if my camera will pick it up because I'll have to turn the lights out, but we can try.
All right.
And we have the videos.
That's true. I don't know. I will try to pop up the videos. I don't know because I've never tried it with sound. I mean, I can run the little clip. I was going to turn the music off on that thing. But anyway, let's do the break. When we come back,
even without sound, it would be great because Joseph can be the sound.
That's true. He could narrate, couldn't he? All right. Well, yeah, we'll give it a shot. Okay, we're going to go to our only break, guys, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Joseph, you can do whatever you want because you're going to be off camera. What happens when I hit this button?
Introducing the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock App Meetup Maker. Never miss another meetup again. You can look up meetups in several different ways. Sort by date. You can search by location or within a 500-mile radius. To create and list your own meetup, enter the date. Give the meetup a name, a location name. Add a photo. Enter your contact information. Create a group chat name and then fill out the description with all of the details. Select your background color and hit the Save button to add your meetup to the list. Once the meetup is saved, it will ask you to create a group chat for all of the meetups so people can join the group and start a local chat community. Select Public Group. Add your welcome message, and your meetup is now available for all to see. To make sure you don't miss another meetup in your area, you can select your desired radius and whether you want push notifications or email or both. Whenever a new meetup is added in your selected radius, you get notified. The Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock Meetup Maker, bringing people together all around the plane.
Join me, Karen B., every Moon Day at 9:30 a.m. for Coffee Talk on YouTube, Rumble, and Rockfin. You never know what you'll learn about in the coffee shop. Open topic and open phones, y'all. And also for meetups, local meetups. If you want to have your meetup listed on flatearthfestivals.com for free, please email flatearthfestivals@protonmail.com.
Sorry, guys. Wait, why can't I hear anything? Is everybody back?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. You know what? That was Joe Jackson stepping out from his album.
Joe, what does the moon and the sun represent?
Say night and day, Joe.
What do the moon and the sun represent?
He doesn't watch the show. He's not going to get it.
Don't overthink it.
I thought you were asking me. I'm just sitting there. How do I?
Oh my God, no!
It's possible. Do it.
Nope. He's not gonna get it. I will.
Yeah, I don't know the inside answer there. So
It's beyond dumb. Trust me.
to me, they represent two very beautiful lights doing an amazing dance in the sky clock above us.
Right, and in what
Correct.
part of the day?
He doesn't watch the show.
Night and.
There we go. He said that.
It's hard to explain. It's the title of a song that was just played.
He said the thing.
It's an inside joke, but we do it every week.
Okay.
Isn't that funny? But anyway.
We're back, by the way, and that is the perfect Patricia Steere. That is the always delightful DJ Curious. That is the Flat Earth model guy extraordinaire, Joseph Hanvey. And I'm your host.
And subscribe to his channel. It will be linked in this video if you're not watching it live at the top of the video in the comment section. However, it is also being linked off and on in the
chat.
In the chat. And Joseph, hopefully you'll have a whole bunch of new subscribers.
Somebody put it in
because
chat
the
right
more
now.
people that subscribe, the more people will get to see this. And do share his videos too.
What's the channel name, by the way?
It's Joseph Hanvey 5861, I guess. I don't really keep up with the actual tag, but it's something like that.
Just Joseph Hanvey will find it for you.
There it is. Somebody put it in. Josh put it in there.
Mudge. Mm-hmm.
Is that really your last name, Josh? Mudge?
Mudge ado about nothing, really. Anyway, we do have some videos to show.
Oh, okay, we haven't played.
We might be able to show Joseph's model in action, but then it might not be as good as showing the videos. But Joseph, we'll leave it up to you.
All right, let me do the first one. You can I'll change to the break screen and I'll run this little thing. I don't know how it's going to look on screen. We'll have to run it more than once, I'm sure. So let's.
Different, but equal.
By the way, I wasn't sure. Hopefully Peanut will tell me, because when we go to break screen, I don't know. Hopefully, chat room, could you tell us, could you hear Joseph when we were actually running that video?
I don't think they could. I was listening.
Damn it.
Oh.
Okay.
So Joe's going to have to say what he said.
Can you hear me?
So they heard me say something random. That
Yeah,
made no sense.
probably. So
Okay, we can just re-say it.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll just redo it. As far as running the video, though, in the background, how will I do that?
I'll just say this. We're going to show the video again, and we may not have sound.
No. We will. Well, I've got an idea.
Will?
Let me give me a second.
Right. Well, I'll just say it. The Firmament Tracker app.
Okay.
Is at
So
the
can y'all
beginning of
hear
the
me?
video.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move your screen temporarily. You ready?
And that Firmament Tracker app is a
I'm going to move it
3D
over. Well, you're gonna be behind me for a second. So
It's a 3D representation of David Weiss's app. It gives you different views. Same but different.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joseph.
So this is, yeah, this is Stephen Alonzo's app. It's called the Firmament Trackers app. You can find it on Google Play. From what I understand, it's free. He does have a paid version, but it allows you multiple observers on the plane at once, and you can see the movement of the sun, the moon, and several of the wandering stars relative to whatever observer you choose or multiple observers that you choose. And as far as I know, he used the map from the coding of this, the math from the coding of this and the building of this to win the TFE challenges, and he won all 3.
Neat. I like it. I think it's very cool. And I'm sorry, the that little dome off to the left, that is you had a physical model of that representing it. You can't show it right now because you're behind me, but that was the clear thing.
Yeah, it represents your personal azimuthal grid view that your eyes produce. So our eyes shrink the larger sky down to our, just like we were talking about earlier. It gives us kind of our own personal show of the sky.
All right, that worked too. So great job.
Well, it was in a pinch. I think I can do the same thing for the other video that you linked. I'd have to open it up in Firefox, but I think I can do it. So let me bring Joe back for a second while I cue that up. There we go.
We're not super professional here, but ABC News said Venus in the sky was a drone recently. So we're equally as professional.
Hey,
as soon as I saw that, I was laughing. I was just like,
DJ, do me a favor. Sure. Since that link you gave me for his YouTube video, can you put that in chat so I can grab it from there? Because if I try to grab it from Skype chat, from either that or I can grab it from, you can put it into Skype chat as well. Just make sure you do it in 2024 to Strange World, because if you put it on yours and I jump over there, I will blink off screen.
Okay.
Temporarily.
I will try.
I got workarounds for workarounds, folks.
I'll try our chat first.
Yeah, put it in our chat first, and I think I can grab it.
That's the right one.
What you guys don't know is behind the scenes, I got a whole bunch of screens open. I have a second monitor, and I'm not even using that one yet.
Yeah, well, I hope that's not like a Sabrina Carpenter music video or something.
Well, it's all right. I won't.
Worse.
I'll launch it first. Where'd you put it?
In the chat. Oh,
did you?
The group.
Which chat?
The live chat.
Oh no! Don't do that.
Oh, shoot.
Put it in Strange World chat first. Okay. I didn't see you put it in live chat. Oh, it's 11:11 by the way. If Karen's listening, it's 11:11.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, perfect. All right, I will grab that. While I'm loading it up, questions you have for you two, for Joseph, while I'm trying to fire up Firefox.
No, I'm just excited to talk about this model in a little bit more in depth, because a couple questions right off the bat that you can kind of get to is, do we think that the sunlight is a projection coming from outside the dome, or is the physical sun inside the dome giving off the light?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's one I get a lot. And I would say I don't know. And I think it can work both ways. I know it can work both ways. The only problem with me doing it from the inside is trying to stick my hand in there, and it just throws everything off because it's not level. Everything has to be level for it to really work. So, yeah, I do it from the top, but if I create the light source coming from underneath, it works the same way as it's projected into the sky. What I personally believe is, I don't know if you guys can kind of see right here. So this two-way mirror represents
I'm gonna blow you up. So give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So the two-way mirror right here in the top, which you can't really see on the camera because it's kind of hidden, represents where the superfluid ceiling starts. What's interesting about this is this also answers the second Gaussian surface needed for horizontal lines of equipotential voltage, which we have on the Earth.
Well, I think you explain a few things there. First of all, like, what is superfluid, and those terms you just used, can you break that down in simpler terms really quick?
Yeah, a superfluid is when a gas transitions, and it's not in a gaseous state, it's not in a solid state, it's in its own kind of state of matter. But superfluids are said to have zero viscosity, and the interesting thing about superfluids is they form at really cold temperatures. Like helium-4 forms at, I think, negative 454 degrees Fahrenheit. And what they do is they actually climb their containers and suspend themselves in the tops of their containers. And the fact that they're super ionized gases that have formed into a superfluid state makes them the perfect medium for light to exist.
Wow.
So we actually have, light to exist needs a medium. It's just how it works. Everything needs a medium to exist, and the ether is the background medium in which everything exists. And there's different layers and density and stuff within the ether itself.
Okay.
But yeah, like the space between me and the computer is not empty space. That's ether. So
let me explain the medium real fast for some people that don't know what we're talking about here. Meaning sound is one of the most common one used, which is you can take a bell. It's famous experiments been done for years and years and years, which is you take a bell, you put it in a vacuum chamber, and you suck out the air slowly. The bell will get quieter and quieter until finally you will not be able to hear the bell at all, no matter how hard you ring it, because the air that the sound is traveling through isn't there anymore. That's the medium. So if there's no air, there's no sound. Same thing can be applied to light and all aspects of light. And people have been arguing that for a long time, which is, in fact, scientists have a really tough time with this, because some really high-end scientists have talked about this, which is you can't see something until it hit, you can't see light until it hits an object, for example, because there's no medium, in a vacuum of space, there's nothing to shine off of. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what superfluids are basically. They're just this different state of matter. It's super ionized, it's super cooled, it has zero viscosity, so there's no impedance to travel through it. And you hit something like that with an energy source, an electric or electromagnetic field, and if it's concentrated enough, you're going to get light. And the interesting thing is that there's also a toroidal magnetic field, which there is, everything's toroidal, then you're going to get movement through that medium. So the ether drift caused by the toroidal influence of the realm itself moves the lights through the medium of the superfluid. And what I think creates the lights, I think everything's tied to the sun, personally. And I believe the energy of the dielectric plane that's coming upwards comes up and it collimates to a certain point and then is sent back down, reflected, refracted, whatever people want to say, into a focal point of energy that then hits its respective superfluid layer and ignites, causing the sun focal point sun disk. And that is carried through that medium by the ether drift that is influenced by the toroidal field.
Well, can I get one more thing in there, DJ? Just take 2 seconds. Which is this is a question for Joseph. Joseph, have you ever listened to any of Eric Dollard's rants?
No.
I will send it to you. Fascinating guy. He believed also that a lot of it came down to the sun, which he said that there was no fusion happening at the sun. He goes, I don't know what the sun is, but it's not what they say it is. He said it's just a transformer. He goes, there's power coming to it and it's generating light. He goes, where that power is coming from, I have no idea. He goes, but there's no fusion happening at the sun. And he was the conviction and his logic behind it. He's one of those mad scientist types.
And Crow 777, a long time ago, for those of us who've been in FE for quite some time, had a sort of groundbreaking video where he theorized, based on the lunar wave, where he saw ripples across the moon surface, and other people did as well and caught it on camera. Right. That space, quote unquote, is water. Could Joseph be the quote superfluid that you're speaking of, or it's not related?
Yeah, absolutely, it could. In my opinion, right now. And I like what DJ says. We're learning, we're growing. I don't have all the answers, but I'm doing my best to give solid scientific explanations that fall in line with the modeling. And people can say they're not, but if they go study these things, they're going to, if they weren't, I wouldn't be able to get it to work.
Right.
So, and any kind of fluid, for example, at its surface, if it's completely still at its surface, it acts as a two-way mirror. So people say, oh, how do you know it would a two-way mirror would represent the surface of the superfluid? Well, because a fluid at its surface, if it's still at the surface, and it doesn't have to be perfectly still, it's going to be super reflective. I can go out in the middle of the day to my swimming pool, take my P950, turn the jets off, let the water go still, and shoot the sun and catch sunspots, or shoot the moon and catch craters in the reflection on the surface of the water. So a superfluid ceiling would act as a two-way mirror, and not only that, it again gives us our second Gaussian surface that allows for the horizontal lines of equipotential voltage that we have on our realm, which we can test in a lab. We know, which we can test in nature, and we can recreate in a lab. So we know that we have those things, but a sphere can't have horizontal lines of equipotential voltage, because to recreate it, you've got to have two 3D Gaussian surfaces, one beneath, which would be our floor, and one above, which would be the ceiling. If there is no superfluid ceiling, then we run into a problem because the dome itself is not level. So the superfluid ceiling makes a lot of sense. And if you look at the Go Fast rocket that they shot up, I think it made it to like 74, 75 miles high. And the temperature that it recorded was very close, or right at negative 454 degrees Fahrenheit, which is where helium-4 forms, I believe, somewhere right around there. But regardless, at super cold temperatures is where these ionized gases start to transition to the superfluid form.
I wonder if that has anything to do with NASA's love for helium, the biggest consumers of helium on Earth. I don't know if there's any sort of connection to that. In the chat, people are asking about the TFE expedition group and how they went hundreds of miles south after reaching Antarctica. But a couple of people are saying in chat that your model indicates they would have hit the firmament. And then others are saying, no, the firmament is hundreds more miles. So what do you think? How far from where they had their base camp would the firmament have been?
I have no clue.
What can you like spitball it?
Well, see,
for the chat.
This is kind of the thing. Like,
we don't know.
That kind of thinking is the in the box kind of thinking that we've got to get rid of.
Okay.
I'm demonstrating, and I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking about
I know.
those
It's just been asked in the chat, and they
So,
yeah.
one, we got to think of scale. Two, we got to think. We don't know exactly how big the realm is, so it could go out way further than we know.
So this exact model you've got could be huge. You're just showing it this way, but will all the bits and pieces work if it's much, much, much bigger?
Yeah, that absolutely still works because because of the mirror sky system that we have. And in the scriptures, in Job, I think it's Job 38:17, he says that he made it like a cast metal mirror. That's one translation. Another translation says like a bronze mirror that reflects heat. Another translation says like a molten looking glass. So if you think of that, let's just use the bronze mirror that reflects heat. Well, a bronze mirror that reflects heat is going to be concave on the inside and convex on the outside, and the energy source would be collimated and then sent into a focal point that causes heat. So that's how we can come to the conclusion that it's dome-shaped. That's just one place where we can come to a conclusion that it's dome-shaped. But then he talks about it having mirror-like properties, so it's going to be super reflective. So you have a super reflective dome-type mirror above you that reflects heat, that creates heat, creates focal points of light. And then you have a superfluid, which also acts as a two-way mirror. When you have that kind of system above you, you get an apparent sun no matter where you're at all times.
All right. So if the surface of Earth is much larger than you're showing there, because of course we don't know, your model, we expand the dome further out, will still work.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So I have a video queued up, and what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see it as soon as I shrink you down to about here. Can you see that video that's on my screen right now?
Yeah, that's my day and night
I'm
video.
turning off the, I've turned off the sound for it, hopefully.
Or night and day.
Let's see what you did there. So, and you know what? I'm just going to, you might be able to see it easier this way. I'm going to cover up you and DJ. Can you see it better that way? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
So I've turned off the sound. It's going to run for like 4 minutes. You want to kind of give us a color commentary?
Yeah, what you're seeing here is I have shot a focal point of light at the sun into the top above the superfluid. You're seeing the day and the night zone. You're seeing the light wrap around the ice wall that I've created around the livable realm. This map that I'm using is actually the moon map. Personally, that's what I think is the best explanation to this point. I'm not 100% sold on it, but the Gleason's map would work just as well. I've got a star field shot into the top up here with the sun. You see, and you can even kind of see that yin and yang almost type pattern, which is interesting. So the star field's in there, the sun's pointing down, you get night and day. One of the questions I get all the time is, show me night and day in your realm. It would always be night, it would always be day. Everybody would always see the sun. Now, if you look here in the night zone, you can see the stars and the sun on the other side. So I'm looking up at the night zone right there, and at the very top of the screen, you can see the stars in the black part of the sky, and then off in the distance, you see the sun in the blue part of the sky. And then when I walk around and go to the day side and zoom in on the night side, you just see black sky. You don't see the stars because the daylight's washing them out from that direction, which makes sense. So it's just, things are working. Is it perfect? No. Do I think it's exactly like this? No. I have plans to build several other versions and keep testing and keep growing and keep learning. You know, you don't just build a model and get it right the first time or the 10th time or the 15th time. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of testing and poring over the data and looking at the results and just adjusting and constantly growing and moving. But you can see here I'm looking at the day zone side of it, and you can see day and night clearly there. And when I zoom in there, and if you look kind of back towards the far back side, you can see how the sky is black back there. And you don't see the stars because we're looking from the day side, so it's washing them out. But when I was on the other side, you could see the stars in the night sky, and you could see the day side off in the distance. So when people say, oh, day and night doesn't work in your flat earth model, they're wrong. And I really need to get the superfluid ceiling lower, which is cool because a guy reached out to me today who's going to try to make me a custom one. And once I get that lower, it's going to work even better. I can also take the sun out, and you might have the star trail video to show, and shoot star trails and catch the equatorial trails, the northern trails, and the southern trails.
So cool. It's so cool. Like, I just want to say, you know, for people who are looking at this going, well, I can't really tell, and whatever they're saying, hopefully they're being...
Yeah, you've got to watch these videos yourself in a nice, quiet space, you know, at home and concentrate.
And maybe no one's saying that right this second, but my point is, if you're a glober and you come across this and you think that, oh, they're trying to explain away how the flat model works, it's like Joe's doing this for his own volition, right? Like, up to his own volition.
And been doing it 9 months. So he didn't just come up with this. Or you've been doing YouTube for 9 months, and then you worked your way. It's not just, oh, I'm going to put together this model to answer the TFE. It's not that at all.
Right. This has already been on his mind. It's on his heart. It's a calling from higher source. Which...
Like right there, you can see the stars in the night zone really well. And you're looking off in the distance, you see the day sky and how it's blue, but over here on the night side, it's black, and you see the stars. This was actually my first day and night video with the superfluid ceiling and stars and the sun all at once.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. Really striking. And what are you using to shoot the stars with?
I got a star projector that is projecting let's see if I can see it.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
Yeah. So I project the star field onto the ceiling, and then even if I take the superfluid ceiling out, it still shows up in the dome. Like and people will say, well, if you didn't have that two-way mirror in there, it wouldn't show up. No, I can take it out and it still shows up. I've done videos like that. So
that kind of projector with the stars, it's projecting the night sky for real? You know, the real,
no,
or it's just some kind of scattered little bright spots that look attractive?
Yeah, it's just little stars. I mean, it's a little cheap projector. I didn't want to spend a lot of money right off the bat.
Do they make them where it would be the real exact sky? Probably not.
They make some nicer ones, yeah, that have better constellations. They don't make what I really want though. I want all the constellations in a flat plane to really work with it. But hopefully, I can find one eventually. Well, I'm not going to say they don't make them. I haven't found one yet that's within my price range. I've spent a lot of money doing
I'm
this.
sure.
I don't make any money, like just my telescopes
Right.
and cameras and lasers and everything. And I've done it because I enjoy it. It's a hobby. I love to figure stuff out. I know the Earth is level, it's enclosed, and nobody's ever going to change that. Like, so we might as well figure it out.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle. You're trying to piece together what God created. I mean, let's say it. I mean, something created this place, and I love that you do look at everything through the lens of Scripture. And you know, obviously, out of respect for everyone, I just think that that's something wise to do. And God says that there was light before He even made the sun. So there could be an outside source that somehow interacts with whatever the sun is, and we're made. It just all started to come together. You know, we just don't fully understand how things are operating. But watching you and your determination is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey. It's fun too. Like, I enjoy it. I've got so many pictures and so much data that I haven't even been able to go through and really study and develop and put into content yet. So there's a lot more coming, and I've got plans to make several different versions and test some different theories I have. But all in all, at this point, I would say we've always had a working model, because everything's based on a flat stationary plane of reference. Everything. I'll have a lot of trolls come in and say, explain equatorial mounts, and I know these guys don't even own equatorial mounts just by the things that they say. Well, it's very simple. An equatorial mount uses an elevation angle in reference to a horizontal plane of reference. The grid system, the spherical grid system that they say proves that we live on a sphere, is then wrapped around that horizontal plane of reference. And the telescope tracks that. It tracks that grid system wrapped around a horizontal plane of reference, and follows the sidereal rotation of the stars in the sky. And that it's really that simple. You can't get an elevation angle on a sphere. You have to have a horizontal plane of reference.
I mean, you're creating your own little, basically like theme park in there, right? Miniature version of the Earth, and you need to have all these working parts, like a toy train set with the little working stations and the lights that go off. And so it sounds like you're going to get more and more people interested. Maybe more and more people can help fund this project, and more and more working pieces. So that way, when we see you next time, it's like, look, guys, look, I've added this, I've added that, because it's kind of all needs to be as working as one for us to really be able to visualize what is going on in our realm. But we can see it coming through. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of a blessing. Yesterday, a guy reached out to me that I met at the Truth and Freedom conference, and he was talking about how he's got some property in North Carolina, and he would be interested in building a learning center where we build a life-size model that people could walk into. And it's funny, because even before the Truth and Freedom conference, I told one of my best friends that I felt like the Lord had laid it on my heart that would be something that would happen in the future.
Wow.
Awesome.
That would be cool.
Hey, Patricia,
imagine.
you know, listening to Joseph, you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of the physical version of My Perspective.
Rory Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah, because Rory does a lot of this with graphics, but not in a physical sense. I mean, he'll put some shiny graphics on there and say, this is how it's supposed to work, but he doesn't do anything in the hands-on.
Yeah, he's from Australia, actually. And they don't look alike in real life. But you have a little bit, Joseph, of Brian Mullen to your face.
There you go.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
If you know who that is. A flat earther who was with us in the early days.
Yeah.
He's still alive, but he no longer makes content.
Yeah,
really smart guy.
He did he was a structural engineer by trade, and he did a series back in 2016, called Balls Out Physics, where he was breaking it down from a structural engineering standpoint. He's like, look, the globe doesn't make any sense. Here's why. He goes, I build the stuff. And he helped co-sponsor the first conference, at least for a while, until the ethics board of structural engineers got a hold of him and said, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing a flat earth conference. And so, but it wasn't like they were looking for him. There were trolls, kind of like some of the trolls in the chat room. We'll get to you soon enough. They called the ethics board and said, hey, one of your guys is making a bad example. I had no idea that sort of group even existed. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, was he the guy that was doing the
Yes,
force the line?
that was the force the
so
line.
you do know who he is, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of look like him a little bit.
Yeah.
That's since Mark mentioned it, but you are your own individual, unique creation. And oh my gosh, so glad that you. It's weird how you for 9 months you've been on YouTube, and a lot of people hadn't really seen your work, but it just started coming into all of our focuses right around the time of TFE. And it's like something happens, the TFE thing, which it was good, of course, because we get a lot of information and data, but then we get the troll saying flat earth is over, which is very disheartening because it's not. And nothing was, all that NASA and SpaceX fakery hasn't been suddenly proven to be, they really are on the ISS now. None of that's, but we're not moving, whatever, all of the things haven't all suddenly become true because of TFE. The sun just does something different than what many of us thought. Okay, great. So we've got data. But it was a little bit depressing because we had our two guys and a girl out there in Antarctica with a bunch of globe believers who were not all belittling them, and sometimes they seemed to get along. But those globe believers were rubbing their hands together, the ones that were watching the globies who were in Antarctica, with glee, hoping and praying that soon the three flat earthers would be back making videos so they could go in and troll them and make their life a living hell. And it's going to be probably 5 solid months of all sorts of horror for those three, or at least Jaron and Whitsitt. And you have come along at a perfect time to be sort of an antidote to some of that toxicity, Joe. So we appreciate it.
A voice of reason. And by the way, my standpoint has still never changed, which is if the Globers want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to generate more metrics for the flat earth, that position for me has, the analogy, which DJ loves so much, has never changed, which is you're just shooting wooden arrows into our bonfire. That's all you're doing. And you're going to generate more of a discussion. And I can say this now that the experiment's over. I was kind of hoping for a little more media traction before they got there. Yeah, it's great that Candace Owens is going to interview some people when they get back, and
a documentary is going to be made.
The documentary, whenever that comes out, and however they're going to spin it.
Where I think the flat earther who was the filmmaker, who was with Candace Owens, producer, is going to make a how I changed from a flat earther to a glober video. But maybe he won't. Who knows?
Maybe, but it wouldn't matter anyway because everything's time date stamped. Everyone in our community would be like, who is this guy? I mean, me. Look, I've been doing it longer than almost everybody. And it's like, I'd never heard of him before in my life. So if he makes a documentary and tries to hype himself up as, a flat earther that became a glober, it's like, okay, when? Because there wasn't a single video that he made on the flat earth side. Anybody could have said that. But again, the metrics are the metrics, which is, how many times? It doesn't matter whether you love a topic or you hate a topic, as long as you're talking about the topic. So Trolls. And by the way, can I address some troll questions? And Joseph, you can chime in on some of these, because there were some people, first off, they were saying, Mark, do you believe in a dome? I've always said I believed in a dome. Always, 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 for various reasons. And then they say, what's the dome made out of? And I came up with something tonight, and I said, well, maybe you can ask God when you meet him. I don't know.
If you're lucky enough.
Yeah, exactly. If you're lucky enough, or you can ask the other guy. The other guy might know too. Yeah.
Well, I'm a biblical cosmologist, and the Bible describes it as a cast metal mirror, or a molten looking glass, and it describes it as a tent for the sun and the moon, and it also likens it to sapphire many times. So it's crystalline, super reflective, it's hard. Rakia means something hard, hammered out by hand like a metal worker. So yeah, and it's dome shaped or tent shaped or dodecahedron. Know that for sure, but it's definitely crystalline, super reflective, and seals us off and is in a dome type shape, toroidal type shape.
And I know there's a lot of globalists out there that don't believe in the Bible. They don't believe in Scripture, and which is why I did several videos on it. One of my very first ones was called "They Are Hiding God." I highly recommend it for you, Joseph. And I talk about one of my favorite stories ever, and you'll get this immediately, which is the Tower of Babel, which is the first civilization before ours. It's like, oh yeah, let's build a bridge to heaven. It's like, where are you going if it's a globe? That's just a needle on an orange spinning around. That's going nowhere. But if it's inside your little model right there, then it's going somewhere. And it's got a purpose, and it has an end game to it. And I always love that story. It's one of the shortest stories in the Bible, and I'm stunned they never made a movie on it. Anyway.
It's a good story. Definitely a good story.
Or I'm sorry, one more for you, which you'll get, which is the Joshua. When Joshua asked God to hold the sun and the moon in the sky for an extra day so he could slay more enemies in his name. It's like, that's really tough to do if it's a solar system. I mean, really difficult. There's a lot of moving pieces you got to mess with. But if it's just, images on a ceiling, images on the inside of the dome, that's just a pause button. That's easy. We could do that.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to where does the light source come from? I gave my one theory where I think it could be the energy of the surface of Earth that's coming up and culminating and being refracted or reflected into a focal point of energy that hits the superfluid layer and ignites and causes a focal disk. Or it could be from the Father above. He's the source of all things, so no matter where it comes from angularly, it's coming from him, in my opinion. So, yeah. Yep.
I agree. What else what else, Patricia and DJ, should we look over some of the questions? Because we're not taking calls tonight, obviously, guys.
Well, let's talk about the 24-hour sun model that you've got. Do we have that video? Or we don't?
I only had the two. Is there another one that someone can send to me if you want me to watch it? How long is it? Or we can just watch it. We watch it until Joseph runs out of commentary.
Well, I mean, I know that anybody can go ahead and watch these videos on Joseph's channel too. So,
well, I mean, again, if you want to link it to me, I can throw it up. It's going to be in the little screen that we did just before.
Okay, hold on one moment. I'll see if I can find it
right here. Let me.
Oh, good. Because there's a new one that came out today.
The what?
This one says 5 days ago. Does that sound right, Joe?
Probably, yeah.
Throw it into back chat. Excuse me.
Okay.
And I will put it up in.
And then, when at some point, I do have a couple other questions too.
Okay. Copy link. Let's throw it in here.
In fact, I'll just kind of.
While you're doing all those things, Joseph, your family probably noted a change in you when you all of a sudden started pursuing truth, looking into everything, and then making models. Have they gone with you on this journey, or is there some differences of opinion?
My family's always been very supportive. They know that I'm a unique individual, I guess is a good way to put it. But yeah, they've always been really supportive. And I think overwhelmingly, even if some of them won't admit it, that they know that the Earth is flat now.
Good. It's good you're supported. You're supported here for sure.
Absolutely. And I would imagine this, how did this change your relationship with the Creator? Did you feel like this strengthened your faith?
Oh yeah, by far. Absolutely. It makes you realize how special we are. We're not some insignificant offspring of animals or monkeys or whatever they want to say. We are the masterpiece of the Creator. Like, yes, all this is beautiful and it's all amazing. We're the masterpiece.
Yeah,
And
we're
that's
yeah, go ahead.
that to me just gives me hope beyond anything. And you know, we live in a dark time. We live in a dark world. We live in a world where people are just, they are their own gods, and because of that, it's hard to just truly love people. But he, in the process of breaking me free from the matrix, so-called, he gave me empathy and compassion for others greater than I've ever had before. And it's growing and growing each day. I'm still not perfected in that area by any means, but it's getting better and better each day. And I'm just more compassionate, more loving, and more forgiving, and more understanding, and have greater hope for the future. Yeah, it's been quite amazing.
Yeah, same for me, and I've shared a lot of that, how this has changed my life and just helped me get the hope back that I felt like it was kind of dying out. And knowing that, you know, flat earthers, we're kind of getting a crash course in patience as well as growing a thick skin, because if you do believe the Bible, you know that this is just there's a lot more other things that could be testing us, in the sense of if we don't have a strong faith. And that's why flat earth for me just gave me that piece of the puzzle to look up and be like, Lord, I see you now. I can feel that this place was created with purpose, and that there is a reason why we're going through these things. And sharing that with friends and family, and watching you and put all this hard work into this model, it's just helps all of us kind of keep pushing forward. So thank you.
No problem. It's fun for me. So yeah, this is the 24-hour sun, and like right there, that's south, east, north, west, south, east, north, and you can see how it's higher in the north and lower in the south. That's exactly what they saw when they were down there. It was higher at their noonday position. And now, just pause it right here. So people see this and they say, see, you can see two light sources. And they only saw one. Okay, they're way out here in Antarctica where you were seeing that one. This other light source would be the apparent source over Capricorn. But that distance in the scale of things is so great, you're not even going to see that. So yeah, you see your apparent sun out here in Capricorn, I mean out here at that far out in Antarctica. And then once you get back to Capricorn, you see the other apparent sun. You're getting these apparent suns to each individual viewer, and because of the mirror type sky, it is a perfect representation of the physical source, wherever that is and wherever it's coming from. So the apparent sun we see is always a perfect representation of the physical source in the helium superfluid layer. In where I stand right now, that's kind of how I look at it. And everything kind of, everything obeys fluid dynamics. So to say that an ether, a fluid medium background, is just nonsense is ridiculous, because up until Einstein, everybody accepted the ether. Einstein really was put in place. And I don't even think Einstein was a smart guy. I think he was a plagiarist, and he was a plant, and he was put there to help destroy the last group of geocentrists that were kind of hanging on at the time.
Yeah. So is there anything that looks peculiar to you from seeing the final experiment footage? It matches the model you're working on? Is there anything that would be considered a death blow to the globe based on maybe the direction the sun was rising or the way it was rotating? Anything you can comment on that?
I've got to wait until we can get all that footage and go over it. I did see some slight distortions, but that could just be a camera movement and a lens anomaly. But if you notice, like in this model, when it hits south, it distorts just a little bit. Well, in one of the 24-hour lapses I saw right when it got south, it distorted just a little bit. Now, it wouldn't do that if you had a solar filter on there because it would take away the ability for it to distort. I just find it interesting that it did in the reality, and it does it in this a little bit too. But again, this is nowhere near our true reality. It's just a conceptual way of visualizing it. But no, that's the thing about the luminaries. We can't look to the lights in the ceiling to determine the floor beneath our feet. We have to measure the floor beneath our feet if we want to know what the floor beneath our feet is. But because of the luminaries present themselves the way they do to us, that's how the heliocentric model was built and the lie was sold.
Agreed.
Well,
the way the sun was rotating in Antarctica, where, you know, everyone saw that it was going left to right, does that make your model harder to conceptualize?
No, it was going right to left.
Wait, the sun?
It's going west. See, this is where I talk about how perspective is extremely difficult.
Right. So they were seeing it that way, but that's just their perspective.
No, it's going right to left, but it's going west. So everything's moving west. What
Sorry if I
happens
misspoke.
yeah, so everything above us is moving west, but the way the dome refraction works, the sky mirror system works, once you pass the equator, it manipulates the light the other direction. So you have this converging and diverging away from the equator towards the celestial poles. However, the celestial pole for the south, there is no south pole. The celestial pole is just the center point of your sky when you're facing due south. In the north, it would be Polaris, is what they consider your celestial pole, or really just offsets. Polaris does a tiny little circle right around center. So it's the way the dome, and in the star trail video, I don't know if you've got that. I think I sent you that one, DJ. You can really see it in the star trail videos and how the star trails give you these two apparent rotations, and there's only, like I showed you, I've got one star field rotating, and that is in the top of the dome here. But as you change your perspective and you look at the southern part, it shows you a whole nother star trail rotating the opposite direction. It's the way the sky mirror system is manipulating the light that causes that phenomenon. And the fact that I can put my cameras up and capture northern star trails, equatorial star trails, and southern star trails in this model, almost identical to what I can capture outside with my cameras and telescopes, to me, that's pretty solid evidence that it can work this way.
Well, I just sent it to Mark, another demonstration of star trails if you want to play it.
Give me a second.
Well, Mark's doing that. While you were coming up with these models and working on them and doing the trial and error, like I told you on the other stream, to me it reminded me of like in the movie where Rocky Balboa is just really kind of putting in the hard work and the Eye of the Tiger's playing and he's pumping and trying to get better and better. It's like we were watching real time, and I said this before, it was just such an admirable thing to watch you admit like, hey, okay, I was maybe misspoke, or I wasn't explaining it correctly, and you just put yourself out there, and I think that's what this is all about. And I hope that if Duffy ever sees this, that he really is able to present that there is an alternative theory to how this 24-hour sun could work, and that we really give it a fair investigation. But if you had unlimited resources and time and help, is there an experiment that you think would be better that you would love to see happen to help push this forward for you?
Oh man, yeah, you give me NASA's resources and there's all kinds of stuff we could do. You give me free access to Antarctica, free access to the north, what they consider the North Pole or magnetic north. Give me all access to all their telescopes and observatories, and yeah, I mean, and laboratories where I could actually try to develop an actual model with a real superfluid and then test it that way. Yeah, there's all kinds of things I would love to do. You know, I do fairly well. I run my own business. I'm blessed in that sense. So I don't it doesn't bother me to spend money on my hobbies and stuff like that, but I still have a budget and a life and a family and, and stuff like that. So I just can't go crazy. But if I had unlimited funding, yeah, I mean, there's so many things we could do. But there's a lot of little things that flat earthers can do at their homes that I've done that are fun for the family and to learn. And not only that, then you have more ammo because it's repeatable. So the more repeatable evidence we have out there, the stronger our stance gets, because science needs to be repeatable. It's not science until other people start doing it, because as of right now, I'm the only one doing this in a physical model. So until other people can repeat it and replicate it themselves, it's technically not in the realm of science just yet.
Right. Well.
So the Star Trail video that we have up on the screen, what are we looking at there?
It's like broken into two screens for me.
Oh, sorry. Here, this one.
Maybe just take me down and put that thing bigger.
So I've got two phones facing the dome with the star field in the top. And see, that's a long exposure there. And you get your northern and your southern trails. I'm focused on the southern part of the zone. And then it probably already took it took the other picture already.
Do you want me to back it up?
See, that's the P950 and the other side facing.
Here, let me. Let me take it.
Yeah,
this is 20 seconds in.
Yeah, that's good. So this is the first phone. I'm getting ready to take a long exposure on the iPhone. I've got it facing the southern part of the hemisphere. Got the star field projected into the dome. I take the long exposure. It's a 30-second exposure on my iPhone, and then I'll walk over to the P950, which is facing the other direction from the side at the southern part of the zone, and I take another time long exposure shot right here. It happens faster with the P950 because the P950 is just a better camera than the iPhone. And you'll see, as soon as I snap the picture, you'll see it come through, and you'll see the star trails in this one. And then I'm going to walk back over 90 degrees around the circle to the iPhone and show you the long exposure. So you see, you get those rotations and anti-rotations based off of how the dome is manipulating the light and the star field. And then I'm going to come back over to the iPhone, and this is just live right here, but it already took the 30-second exposure. And I'm going to show, there's the exposure on that 30-second exposure. Now, if I get the camera inside and put it right between the two zones, you get the equatorial trails. And I think at the end of this video, if you fast forward a little bit, I have still shots where the still shots are labeled. Maybe it's this video.
Maybe. Hang on. I'm at 3 minutes. There's only about 20 seconds left in the video.
Yeah, I think there's just like 5. It might not be this video. It might be another one. But yeah, I mean, I've got several videos on this on there, and people can go and look at them and just go through them and see. But yeah, I mean, that's just a quick way to show that it's an apparent position. And people ask, well, how can we see the southern star trails from Australia, South America, and Africa at the same time looking south? Well, there you go. It's an apparent position based on how the dome sky mirror system manipulates the light.
Pretty incredible.
Cred stuff, Joseph. Seriously.
Is there anything, Joseph, that you are still trying to figure out how it works? I mean, I know it's all kind of a mystery, really. I mean, is there something that you're having trouble figuring out how to model?
The Analemma.
The Analemma.
I'm working on that. I think I figured it out, but it's going to be very difficult to do it in a video and show that. But I think it's possible. I just have to work on it. It's going to take me time. But there's a lot of things. Yeah, every time I answer something new, I get 100 new questions in my head. So, you know, it's just a process of going one by one, doing things. And when I very first started, I didn't even start with the actual physical model. I said, all right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make observations. So I planned a flight. I'm fortunate enough to have somebody in my life who owns their own planes, retired Air Force pilot. So we planned a flight for the blood moon eclipse of 11/8/22, and we flew from the time it started until the time it stopped, actually till after it stopped. And I recorded and filmed the whole thing from 10,500 feet on a super clear night. And what that taught me, like, helped me build my blood moon theory for flat Earth, because you always hear, well, how do eclipses work? They actually work in our model. They don't work in the heliocentric model. That flight that I took, I falsified the Umbra teachings, the Umbra shadow teaching personally with 3 other witnesses in the plane. And I've got video evidence of that and picture evidence of that. We saw the fully eclipsed blood moon in the western sky and the sun rising in the eastern sky. And it was just amazing. I think a lot of people have seen my sun picture where it looks like a little tiny sun with a real brilliant hot spot right on top of just the atmos, and it's kind of off in the distance from the airplane. It kind of went viral, but that moment when that sun came up like that, we'd been in the air since 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was like we all drank a case of Red Bull. Just the energy that flooded into that plane was amazing.
Wow. Well, so there you have it, guys.
Yeah.
24-hour sun is possible on the flat model, and it's exciting. It's like, the globe side, they're gloating right now, which is to be expected. Doesn't mean that we're back in a space vacuum, whirling and twirling, and there is still more mysteries to unravel. And you're just helping push things forward. So, wow, that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys, man. It's a pleasure to be here with like-minded people discussing. I mean, what better thing to discuss than creation?
Huh?
I mean, to me, I would much rather have this conversation than talk about some Netflix show that I'm hooked on.
All of us here feel the same way. That's why many of us have been here for quite a long time, because we can't let it go. We can't walk away, because this really is the most important thing. Of course, loving your family and your friends, that, of course, and your animals in your life, of course. But
I kind of look at it this way too, like, if we don't stand up and fight, then we're dooming the future generations to ignorance. And that, to me, is probably where my heart lies the most. Is we have kids in school being lied to and misled every single day. They're charging us for it. NASA is lying to us every single day. They're charging us for it. I mean, if I told somebody that was in a 40-year marriage that their husband or their wife had been lying to them that whole time, they would be really pissed and they would want to do something about it. Yet when we talk about how we've been lied to by our government, people are like, oh, they always lie. Like, it's no big deal. We're so desensitized to it that we're just apathetic. And it's time to stop being apathetic, because the future generations, if we want future astronomers, we have to teach them true astronomy. If we want future scientists, future doctors, future mathematicians, future astrophotographers, artists, whatever, we need to start teaching them the right things, because their minds are going to explode when they're taught the truth. When you're taught lies, your minds rot, and we see mental illness and sickness and disease and all of these terrible things that we see. We don't realize the power of the vibrations of our words and how they're destroying our bodies when we're being filled with lies and fear constantly. So truth brings peace and love and growth and all of those things, and all of those things are healing to us because of the frequency and energy that we output when we have those things, versus when we've been lied to and we're in depression and anxiety and all of these things that cause disease in our body.
Well said.
Wow, amazing. You're on fire for the truth, and it's infectious. So.
Well,
we truly appreciate it. I feel so happy right now.
Yeah.
Does everyone in our chat feel like that too? I almost have that feeling of wanting to cry a little bit. So
this is exactly what we need.
In closing, I just want to say that I was never worried, because, as you guys have heard in the interviews I've done over the years, people say, hey, Mark, is there anything that would convince you to go back to the globe? And I say, yeah, there's 2 things. One would be unedited footage of space with a camera pointed down where the globe gets formed from leaving the orbit of the Earth, which has never happened in the history of space travel. A little suspicious. More than a little suspicious. Or, of course, my very famous vacuum chamber spacesuit test. And hey, I'm still alive. No one's even attempted it. So again, put me in a spacesuit from any era. Pull the switch. Tell me how I don't die. thank you, Joseph. It was wonderful having you. It was an absolute pleasure. You did a great job. I liked your videos. I like your stuff. Hope to have you on again. Next week, of course, we'll be here. Same flat time, same flat channel. I believe next week we have a cage match with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. And
best way to solve it, actually.
Yeah. So with that,
I have a few others we should throw in as well. So
and I want to shout out.
Go ahead, Patricia. Last words.
Oh, I don't have any last words other than I'm very grateful for everybody in this community. We are sometimes a messy bunch, but I love you all.
DJ.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah. Keep your heads up out there, guys. It's going to be okay. You know, this is the truth does not fear investigation, and this place is a mystical, magical realm, and we are learning more and more and more. And thanks to everyone that went to Antarctica. Treat them like Patricia said. Welcome them back. Joe, you're awesome. Thank you to Run Boston Bear. Go watch a couple interviews that he did with you and Dave Weiss over the past week on his channel. And thank you so much, Joe, for just jumping on here. And really helping put a lot of people's minds at ease and giving us lots more to think about and to look forward to.
Hey, I'm grateful for the opportunity to come out and share the truth. I mean, you know, it's not often you get a chance to share the truth with this many people. So it's a blessing. It's humbling, but I'm grateful for the opportunity. I appreciate all of you guys and the work that you're doing for truth. And yeah, I hope to be able to bring more in the future and do some great things.
Absolutely. We'll be watching.
With that, say goodnight, Patricia.
Good night.
Say goodnight, DJ.
Good night, Strange World. Stay curious.
Say goodnight, Joseph.
Good night, Strange World. Had a good time.
All right.
All right, we're gonna run the music because you've never watched the show before. I'm gonna be drumming. You're gonna be listening to. If you want Alex Lowry's song, you can listen to it on your phone. You're not gonna hear any music though, probably. And yeah, I don't even have to hit any special buttons. I just hit this.
Mark, the music's not playing, by the way. And it didn't play in the beginning.
It didn't?
So you are mindlessly drumming.
There's no music?
Nope. And it didn't play in the beginning either. You know, technical difficulties. Or I'm caught in a snowstorm.
Holy crap.
Oh, well.
Oh, all right, well, we'll just end the stream because I'm not going to try to dissect it now. Wait, no, I got to solve this. Give me a second.
All right.
Unhide all. Peanut, you're supposed to help me with this stuff. Is it
you were playing air drums at the beginning and the end.
Tell me. Yeah. Give me 10 seconds.
We really are more professional. Just. We're not.
Oh, look who's calling. Strict comment.
There we go. Here's the music. Here's the music.
Oh, I know why, too. Because everybody has their own audio channels. So the video has its own audio channel, too.
Like having the sun, your own dome.
It's always something.
Is the only mic working yours, Mark? The only mic working is yours, right?
That wasn't working, or
no. Right now, the only mic that works is yours, right?
No, because I'm not on breaks. I think everybody's hot right now. When I do it like this, then I think everybody's hot.
Oh.
Echo and voices? Yeah, it should be, because we're going through desktop audio. Yeah, you guys can't say anything right now. Including me.
What you have and what you'll ever need. There's love so many nights, so many ways to believe.
That was my friend, everybody.
If I come out to Hawaii, I'm gonna come see you out there, DJ.
Oh yeah, we're soaking up the sun.
My aunt told me there's a great place, Dragon's Peak or something.
Sure.
She told me there's this cool place to go up and view the sun. That I would love it.
Oh yeah, there's amazing sunrises here.
Baby up.
Paige needs to get into her PJs with her cup of cocoa and her 6 marshmallows. Night, Mark.
Mike Jack.
You realize it's the same link every week. It never changes.
Yeah, I know. I should paste it somewhere, I think.